fostering a baby. Ah, he's so cute. We are about to get into a legit heated debate with a legit lawyer because he hated our last video. So we're gonna see what happens. Stay tuned. Oh, he's here. And we're back. Welcome back, guys. We have a guest here today, Mr. Dennis, aka Mr. Lawyer. If you were watching our, what was it, the second episode? Karla, do you want to give them the breakdown?
Mr. Lawyer, the guy that Monet supposedly was sleeping with.
I guess I'm the homewrecking queen, so here we are. So we have him on board, Mr. Smarty Pants here. So he watched our last episode and wasn't a fan, low-key.
I had a lot to say.
He had a lot to say. He disagreed with a lot of our points that we made in regards to what relationships and...
Well, primarily that, attachment styles.
Attachment styles. It's about to get into a heated debate here.
So what was something that you disagreed with that we said on our last episode?
This whole thing started when I made a comment about the part of the video when they said the 5 things that make for a good relationship. How do you know?
Let's recap. So it's categorized into 2 parts, right? Chemistry and compatibility. Chemistry, the categories that fall under that is physical, financial, and mental. These are the 3 things that are needed for you to be really fully attracted. Now, as far as compatibility goes, it's categorized into 2 parts, which is spiritual and emotional. When all those 5 boxes are ticked, you have the potential of overall having a really great relationship.
It's a very rational view, so it's not entirely wrong. But in reality, people don't make their decisions that way. And when they're in an attachment style, a lot of this stuff goes by the wayside and they don't see it. They don't know what makes a good relationship once they are in a certain mindset.
Okay, but so if they're in a certain mindset, that falls under the category of chemistry, which is mentality. So if they fall into a certain mindset, basically that box is being unchecked. So technically speaking, then 1 box is missing.
In theory, people tend to justify in the back end shortcomings, bare minimums, or red flags get pushed aside. When they are in attachment, they think they're in love. In my view, it starts off first of all with physical, because you can check off all the boxes about all these good qualities: humor, intelligence, ambition, stability. Without the physical part, it's kind of a non-starter. Then comes in the emotional experience that may be built on good things or bad things.
Wait, so when it comes to physical, does it have to be an intense physical attraction? Because I remember one of my first relationships, I wasn't really fully attracted, but he ended up becoming like the love of my life.
Subconsciously, we already form our opinions without even realizing it. So some base level, of course, is necessary, and other attachments grow with time.
Okay, so for you, the starting kickoff is physical.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have anything to say?
No, I'm just listening.
Okay. Continue, Mr. Lawyer.
As I said, and a lot of the same behaviors can be also framed in a different sense. Someone can be very ambitious, make a lot of money, have a great job, be a good provider, generous, but they can also be reframed as they're a workaholic. They don't put enough quality time into the relationship. See, that can be just flipped on its head, and the same exact behaviors can be viewed in a totally different lens.
Do you have anything to say?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay.
Okay.
Rebecca the Finsta, if you guys remembered from our original video, which was this fake profile ran by his ex, Rebecca the Finsta, and this guy named David the Finsta, aka fake name is Maria. She messaged me and I left it unread. And what did she write?
So the last message from Monet called out Rebecca and basically told her that if she's indeed pregnant, which she's not, that I have certain rights as a father and I will be pursuing legal action to protect those rights.
And I will be the stepmom for that child. And he's a lawyer and he's got a lot of money. All right, Dennis, continue.
So the response from Rebecca, which we waited on, saying, good for him informing his lawyer contacts. You should go down that path. Keep fucking him then, and you'll see where it gets you since he lies to everyone he's talking to.
Okay, so supposedly I'm sleeping with this guy when he has a girlfriend already. By the way, how's your love life going?
It's going really well. I would say, things are moving along exactly how they should be. But that's a good segue from what we just talked about, because in that past relationship, I thought things were going really well. I thought we were meshing in a lot of things. We had
Is this with you and Maria?
Maria. A lot of compatibility. I wouldn't be pursuing it as hard if I thought these things weren't there. And to her credit, she has good qualities.
Does she tick all 5 boxes? And if not, what boxes were missing?
She ticks off physical,
Physical,
spiritual,
spiritual,
Emotional, I thought was there.
Definitely not emotionally. What about her financial?
Apparently did not converge either.
Right, because you don't have a house in Newport, even though
I live on the wrong side of the 5 freeway.
But when it comes down to emotional and mental, emotionally, she didn't know how to handle her emotions. It was all over the place. She was paranoid. She had trust issues. Mentally, this girl was on drugs. I don't know what the F she was on.
I'm sorry for my language. What the F is this?
I have to not cuss because that's my New Year's resolution. And my mom yelled at me for cussing. I think your parents yelled at you too, maybe?
Bruh.
Yeah, so we both got yelled at. Anyways, back to the lawyer. So
Turned out nothing I did was actually good enough. I wasn't 6'2", I didn't have surfer hair.
and you don't live in Newport Beach.
I don't live in Newport Beach. When all these fake accounts start popping up with these outlandish claims about what I've done, it's just childish, immature.
So what was your first
Facts.
impression when you saw all of these allegations coming towards you?
It doesn't feel good when someone is trying to drag your reputation through the mud to people you know. These things were so ridiculous and in public and in the view that I didn't really need to explain myself to anyone.
It wasn't really much damage control because we know you so well. So we just laughed it off like, what a joke. Like, this is such a joke. That's why she looks so ridiculous. If people truly know who you are, despite the rumors, people are going to have your back and they won't be fazed.
I also live a pretty balanced, uncomplicated life. So whenever there's a loose end that starts rattling, it's very easy to take care of it. I try to stick to my word and my values. It was easy to laugh it off because it was so outlandish.
You know what I love about Dennis? He genuinely is a genuine person, very classy, very humble, very generous. And overall, he has a very pure and good heart. It's very rare to have men like you that are righteous, high moral, high value. You are, I think, the truest definition of a high value man. So, Maria, it was your loss. I'm so sorry. Again, best of luck to you.
I still think the physical and the emotional component trumps everything else. But people stay in toxic, incompatible relationships for months, years, and from those outside, third party that's not emotionally involved, they can point out the problems right away. Or someone in the relationship, they are kind of have blindfolds on and they're not willing to take a step back and make the rational choice of, does this person check off all the 5 boxes? They may think it's true love. In reality, it's on shaky foundations. If someone activates the emotional response strong enough and you're attached and enmeshed, a lot can be overcome.
I think that's going to lead to something toxic, though.
I never said they're good. Your perception of the relationship is not going to allow you to step back and see it for what it is. A person may say, I want someone who is highly spiritual and I want someone who's kind and humorous. In reality, they're not going to hold up their partner to that standard if they're, the avoidant, anxious attachment style being, pulled together. There's a lot that goes on subconsciously in our brains that stop us from taking a step back. Even things like financial, it could be someone overspending.
If they have a shopping problem and they're spending and draining all of your money, you don't think that's going to be an issue?
A lot of it is always overlooked.
But a lot of men these days don't even have the financial means to fully take care of another person fully.
Well, what you said about men, plenty of broke guys have girlfriends.
Sometimes it doesn't even have to be about the money. Probably the guy's a really great guy and the woman just stays with him.
Like let's say financial always becomes a struggle, you're going to be struggling half your whole life. But when one box is missing, let's say financially something is missing, you're bound to have lots of, troubles and issues and hard times ahead of you, which can cause such a strain in a relationship.
That's true. But again, how do you know if you have a good relationship? The how do you know is a big portion of it. People online all the time ask questions. My boyfriend did this and this and that. Do I leave him? And everyone is like, yeah, find a new boyfriend. Why is the question even asked to begin with?
But truthfully, respect yourself enough to just walk away no matter how attached you are, because there is better. And if you believe in God, God has your back and you will find better. One thing I've learned in life is it always gets better. The next person always gets better. You are more aligned with what you want. You're energetically giving out a better, higher energy, vibrating at a higher frequency, and you're going to attract better things. So don't ever compromise. Don't ever compromise yourself. Lola! That's it. I'm locking her up. Commercial break. I'm pissed. You can put that in the video. Sorry about that.
As long as you have physical and emotional, you can overlook all the other little things.
I'm not saying you should. I am saying people do all the time. And they stay in a relationship hoping it gets better or just allowing themselves to ignore it.
How do you think they break out of that cycle?
A level of self-awareness,
Facts.
self-respect, self-worth.
How does one attain higher self-awareness?
The confidence to know you can feel through pain and be okay.
Let me ask you this. What's your advice into handling criticism and using it in a more positive way instead of getting defensive and fighting against it and not learning from it?
Well, I used to do that a lot. When my boyfriend would give me feedback, I would be like, no, that's not true. But then it just kept on getting toxic because it kept being a cycle and cycle and cycle of me not accepting that I was wrong. And so instead I stay quiet and either I take a break or I take a little breather and I think about and reflect about what I actually did. And so it's just doing better for next time, because you can't fix something that's already done. You have to just sit down, accept it, even though it hurts, even though, your ego gets hurt or bruised, and just do better for the next time and don't repeat what you did again.
It takes some amount of courage to ask the hard questions of yourself and of others. Bravery, courage is like a muscle. You have to practice it and you get better at it as you do.
What are your final thoughts on the compatibilities?
Fundamentally, I don't think we have a disagreement. My main point was that we don't make these decisions rationally. Our subconscious affects how we react to people, how we react to our internal emotions.
And you're also saying the Are you okay? And you're saying that also the attachment styles plays a factor into this though too. We have can you give a breakdown of the attachment styles of relationships?
There's avoidant, which tends to pull back from close relationships and be very independent. There's anxious, which tends to need other people to validate, starts always questioning when other people do pull back.
I need so much attention.
There's secure, which I think has a healthy balance without smothering, without pulling back unnecessarily.
How can you not smother the person you love? Like, come on.
The issue is an anxious person who is in an emotional connection with an avoidant person will seek their validation. And when the avoidant person gives them breadcrumbs and hot and cold, that's like catnip for the anxious. Nothing else really starts to matter, even red flags. The physical comes in first only because that's a very basic baseline. So the point being, many of these good qualities are valuable.
Well, there's a fourth one, and it's I think a combination of avoidant, attachment, and it's just like a hot mess. At the end of the day, you had some valid points, and we hear you, we see you. I'm sorry you were against our last episode, but this was a really good conversation. I respect you. Thank you so much for coming. We're going to get into the rap questions, which you will be a part of. Please leave a comment down below who you think is right.
So, first question for you. Do you think men or women cheat more, and why?
Men.
I think men. I think there is a certain mentality, and maybe it's part biology, part society, where men roam and their attachment develops over a longer period of time. When they're in a relationship, they have an easier time to start looking around.
When men cheat, do you think they fall in love, or do you think it's just purely just physical?
It's physical. It's lack of self-control, short-term thinking, hyena mentality.
What do you think it takes to keep a man satisfied in hopes for him not to have wandering eyes or thoughts for other and being in that temptation?
Well, besides a certain basic level of maintaining the relationship. You want the cheeky answer?
Yeah.
That's actually grounded in science.
Okay.
Have them do things for you successfully.
You want them to feel like they're needed and they can...
And thank them for it. Because that releases all the right brain chemicals for long-term attachment.
Thank you so much for putting on my shoes for me. Oh, thank you so much for buying me that Chanel bag.
No, actually, I've seen a lot of things where if you tell a man thank you, it'll make them want to do things more for you. If you acknowledge what he's doing, if you acknowledge that he's putting in the effort and you say thank you, they'll want to do it more because you're noticing that they're doing something for you. They want to feel useful. They want to feel like they have a purpose in a way, right?
And ladies, let's not use this as a manipulation tactic. Be authentic, be genuine when you're actually thanking someone. If you feel like you're forcing yourself to say it just to get him to act and be a certain way, he might not even be your man.
Well, I agree.
Okay.
But just with a larger point, it's not that you're just playing house. I mean, I think there's also psychological where if you want someone to like you more, have them do you a favor, because that builds that connection closer. So it works for everybody, but don't abuse it as a tactic.
Give us some example of like what men like to do, what men don't like to do.
It has to be something they can actually accomplish.
Is it a man's job to provide in a relationship?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh,
How so?
high value man right here. And what does it mean to provide, by the way?
I think ambition, leadership, that masculine energy, that's what helps create the stable relationship between a man and a woman. And that means actually getting out there and putting in effort. It means providing. I think it can be where the responsibilities are equal, but a man has to be able to carry his load and carry the load when it's necessary for the entire family.
Like, so let's go into the love languages. Quality time, act of service, emotional, physical, and gift giving. When I think of provider, I'm thinking of someone in the regards of like, of their time, of the way they act, their acts of service. Also like, kind of like gift giving. I feel like those three kind of go underneath providing. Yes, there's quality time. Yes, there's affirmation, but to be a provider, I feel like if those three boxes are checked, you know, I think that breeds for an ultimate provider.
Yeah, money these days is hard to come by for a lot of people. You can still acquire skills. You can still fix things around the house. You can still do things that don't require any money at all.
Do you think that when a man is actually being a man, the woman becomes a little more feminine?
A lot of our life is based on building something and surviving. So when a man takes care of those basic building blocks, a woman can relax into her more feminine side.
Do you think jealousy is a sign of love or insecurity?
Depends on the level of jealousy. I think some jealousy is definitely appropriate, natural, but I've had experiences where it was also projection of their own behavior.
So, do you think being in a toxic relationship makes a person stronger?
No, I think it creates a lot of deep wounds and traumas. But on the other hand, once you are able to process it and get past your past, you become more aware and more resilient.
Are men naturally less emotional in relationships, or is it society's fault?
Society. I think there's a certain mentality where the man is supposed to be stoic, but also emotion is seen as weakness. It's that drive to be perceived as dominant, but it's also a mask for a lot of insecurity and a lot of fear of emotion.
Yeah, it died. All right, guys, this has been fun while it's lasted. Thank you so much, Mr. Lawyer, aka Dennis, for joining us here today for this semi-debate. Hopefully you like this episode that we're going to post.
I think I will.
Oh, good. And yeah, so hopefully there'll be a round two. People will let us know your thoughts if you have any questions for him. Yeah, signing out from the Persian Princess and the Latina Daddy and little baby and Mr. Lawyer. Bye.